Hello and welcome once again to Superconnectivity. I am your host, Charlie, the Professor Esther, vagabond of the Skyways. And with me, as always, is my friend who is earthbound, but has the power of the planet beneath him.
And I am Phil.
That's him. Fill me in, Perich. How you doing, Philip?
Good, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Hey, did you hear Roseanne got canceled?
Yeah, I think we talked about that last week, either here on Capes, didn't we?
Yeah, we talked about it somewhere. We're always talking about all this stuff. Who knows where it happens? But I wanted to open with a little aperitif before we got to our main meat, and then we'll wind up with our dessert. Jeph Loeb had made this comment in a open forum issue thing that he was talking with people about, people saying, hey, why don't we bring back Agent Carter? You know, Roseanne just got canceled. Let's bring in Agent Carter. Yada, 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 yada. And Jeph Loeb was basically like, sure, we all want to do that. Get us a network.
Well, yeah, I thought didn't they say something like that before, that like, yeah, Marvel and Loeb were all, you know, they were willing to do more Agent Carter, but it was ABC for some reason that didn't want to do it.
Well, I think this is the first time that Loeb is really calling out ABC on the issue. And it brings to this interesting thing we were talking about in the last episode of Capes and Lunatics, which is this idea that, you know, you have these suits, and these suits are always in play. And what you really see with, like, something like this about Agent Carter, it's really suits versus suits. So there's suits at ABC, there's suits at Marvel Productions. They're all under Disney's banner, but Disney basically says, look, boys, you have to play nicely. Like they said to Loeb and Feige a while ago, you two play nice, or we're going to pick a favorite. And they picked a favorite, and now Loeb is like, okay, Feige's the favorite, I get it. It's
well,
fine.
he's probably making more money for them.
Well, it's about artistic vision and
oh yeah, because artistic vision matters to the suits.
Artistic vision clearly matters more to Disney than it does to Warner Brothers.
Well, yeah, no kidding.
I mean, let's be honest here. There is something that Feige is bringing to the table that they don't feel Loeb necessarily does.
Well, I think, yeah. Well, you're saying Warner's and Disney. I think Disney's realized, yeah, you do the artistic thing, it's gonna bring you money. Warner Brothers, they're just like guys in costumes punching each other, put it up.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a great story recently about, you know, a suit that tried to save Black Panther. Don't kill Black Panther in Infinity. You know, it's like, no, we have to kill our bit darlings. You know?
She's researched,
and you know, not for nothing, Lilith. That's how they get you, because that setup is only good for what, 5-10 years, and then no, this is the new model.
I think we said this from the day it opened. It's like you had to kill your Black Panther and your Spider-Man and your Guardians, because you know they're getting more movies. If you had killed any of those original Avengers, people would have been like, "Oh, is this permanent?" The kill list was intentional. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, although it's funny because the parallel you can use is, of course, Han at the end of Empire Strikes Back, which is that, you know, well, they're not really going to leave Han in there, but actually as far as Harrison Ford was concerned, it's like, yes, please do.
Yeah.
Please just let me die. Please let me die. He's going to be so mad if he comes back as a Force ghost.
Who, Han?
Yeah, he's going to be like, in fact, if I actually see, because I haven't seen Last Jedi yet, but if I actually see in the next one, Kylo Ren going, please reach out to me, and it's like, and Han Solo shows up as a Force ghost, he's going to be like, what the heck? Oh, kid, stop it. Go be better.
Well, you said you didn't see Last Jedi. No, I think someone else has come back as a Force ghost before Han.
Well, I'm sure they're all. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure lots of people are coming back as Force ghosts.
No, I'm just thinking one in particular.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I haven't seen it yet. It's not on Netflix yet. Although Rogue One is on Netflix, and I haven't seen that yet either. So, but it's on Solo.
Last Jedi isn't on Netflix yet. Because I know that like the Blu-rays and stuff are out. I don't think it's.
Oh, maybe it is, and I just haven't bothered to watch it yet.
I thought that they usually went up. It doesn't usually go up the same time like the Blu-rays and stuff.
I have to be honest with you. I am. I guess in my youth, when I had more time, I was very much more interested in watching the various genre spectacles. I certainly saw all 3 of the prequels in the theaters.
I mean, the world we live in today, there's so much content.
True.
So many
But
platforms.
anyway, but it is this interesting idea that basically, you know, as much as we would like, Disney to be Marvel, Marvel is not Disney. Disney is Disney. Disney has a lot of fingers and a lot of pots. And ABC and Freeform and whatever else they do, they're not all one unified universe. They are all different people, all of which have a suit who signs their name on a piece of paper, who have to support these decisions later. So when it comes down to it, and they say, well, we want you to do Agent Carter, it's like, well, that's great. We don't want to do Agent Carter. Her numbers weren't as good as we wanted them to be. And as good of a story as it is, it's just not meeting what we want. Now, it's possible that, with the canceling of Roseanne, they may feel they need something as a palate cleanser, if you will.
And I mean, and now don't you have like that kind of like a tangential connection to Cloak and Dagger, like with the rocks on top and the experiment?
Well, very much so. Very much so. I mean, although what I'll say is we don't have it yet.
No, not yet. But you could see where they're going, where they could go, where they could go.
Yeah, where they could go, and that's the thing. It's like where they could go. And I'm gonna go on a limb. I'm gonna say they're not even gonna touch on it. I'm gonna say that from our first 2 episodes, because we got our 2.
Premiere was two episodes.
They were very wonderful and great. They really are telling their own story, and it's kind of a story that is, in its own way, separate from the larger dynamic. And I think this is actually, I think, an interesting and possibly a brilliant move they made in the writing, is setting it in New Orleans or Nolans.
Well, yeah, I think
Skinner.
If you set it in New York, there's going to be. I mean, the Netflix stuff. You don't get like Avengers and stuff, but it's separated from all the New York stuff. You get time to build like this Cloak and Dagger universe, and
but what it is actually that there is a reference, because as I'm understanding it, if I'm watching the timeline correctly, the explosion at the rig coincided with Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I don't know if I got that, but okay. Because it said years ago, but yeah, I don't know if they ever said like.
Well, but you see that they're living in the old FEMA trailer and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I got the feeling that there's supposed to be this reference to Katrina, which is the real life invasion of New York. When you look at New York, it's like the invasion of New York, and of course, the invasion of New York somehow supersedes Hulk trashing Harlem, but still. And for what it's worth, I can say, yeah, it probably does. It's probably a bigger thing than the Hulk and the Abomination fighting.
Well, I mean, with all the damage, it was one Hulk and one Abomination. Avengers. I mean, there was an army of aliens.
Yeah, there were literal dragons
led by a god
flying in the sky. Yeah, led by a Loki. Yes, he's coming back. You watch. If you think Loki is dead, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn and one more in Manhattan. I'm going to sell you the same bridge. I'm not even going to go one over and sell you the next one.
So I got a rainbow bridge to sell you.
Yeah, well, really, honestly, it is that. He's coming back. But what I'm going to say is, when you put in a natural disaster like Katrina, it puts the smallness of superheroes and alien invasions into perspective. We live on a death world, a world of poison and monsters. In real life. And natural disasters that wipe out our cities because entire islands are crippled and lives are decimated. And that is our reality. And superheroes, all well and good. No.
Is that like another strength of Marvel over DC? Is like Marvel does use like real world events and real cities. Like, Captain America was in World War II. This is around Katrina in the beginning. Even Tony Stark, at first it was Korea or Vietnam. Now it's Afghanistan. I mean, yeah. And DC, they're in their fictional cities,
Well, I mean, that's always the case. Although, like I said in the Unexpected, they're in Jersey. Mammoth City, New Jersey. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. It's like, I don't know why you're going to go halfway there. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, that is. But what I think, like I said, more than just the reality of it, it is just, there's this thing I had this idea of. Wrote this little thing. Someday I'll actually write it for other people to read. But the idea is that if you have superheroes, the horrors of the atomic bomb kind of put you aback. Because it's something that no hero, no matter how powerful, can deal with. And it was actually neat because in the most recent issue of The Exiles, I don't know if we've talked about that yet, they actually touch on this. That, in the most recent issue of The Exiles, at least as far as I know, issue 3, they are going to blow up the Red Skull's plane with the atomic bomb on it. And they say, these guys don't know about fallout. They don't know that if they blow up this plane, they're still going to be spreading radiation over everyone. Like, the horrors of an atomic bomb are so much more than a superhero can handle, that a superhero can contain, And the idea that there are these things that are way more devastating than dragons and Chitauri flying around screaming at people. Because, yes, dragons and Chitauri are going to kill people, but they're basically killing people on a one-on-one basis.
Mm-hmm.
The dragons are going to knock some buildings over, but they're not trying to level a city. A hurricane, a atomic bomb, an earthquake will level a city. They'll just make it as if it was never there. And that is a power that superheroism cannot really redress. Superheroism can only redress the small threats like, Roxxon. Now, Roxxon could destroy the world, but it's going to destroy the world in a very human manner.
Yeah, you're people stopping people.
Exactly. It's people stopping people, but the Earth will do what it wants. If that moon collides with the Earth, it doesn't matter what Tony Stark does. That moon's coming, And I think that is, for lack of a better euphemism, is a structure that's established in this in setting it into. I think that, and honestly, it doesn't even have to be Katrina that they're referring to, because it really could have been any big storm that's hit New Orleans, because honestly, you get 2 inches of rain in the street, like drizzle in that city, because it's below sea level. It's like, Amsterdam. It's not a well-designed city for a world with global warming, regardless if you believe in it or not. But it was, but there are, I will say there are some flaws with the show that I felt. Most in the second episode. Though I'm not quite sure on what everyone's motivation was with Tyrone stealing the radio at the start of the show.
Well, maybe we'll get into that, but I think it was like a reversal of their lives, because in the beginning, when he's a kid, I guess he's trying to steal the radio and the whole thing with the brother getting killed and everything. And, Tandy was this, daughter from like this loving family, and then the father gets killed, and they kind of reverse. Tyrone, I don't know if the parents crack down, Tyrone gets his life together, Tandy just goes downhill after the father dies.
Yeah, well, definitely that's this. What I'm actually saying is, what was Tyrone's actual motivation to steal the radio? I know the guys are telling him steal the radio, and these are these little flaws that can hurt a show, but if the rest of the show is better, it doesn't become a Martha. And
well, again, too, maybe we're only 2 episodes in. Maybe we'll get this later on in the season. Like why was he there that night? Yeah, well, they give some establishment that apparently his brother was talking to 2 other guys. The 2 other guys are saying, oh, you have to do this, or you're going to get, something bad's going to happen, and Tyrone decides to go do it for him so that the other guys don't think he's a punk or something. Oh, yeah, that's probably, well, that too, or maybe he was afraid, they're going to kill him because he owes them money or something, or,
Yeah.
So, save my brother.
Yeah, and what's weird about that whole thing is, of course, like, to me, like, the more I think about that scene, the less it makes sense, because, first off, radios don't come out like that nowadays, and...
Well, he was a child too. Who knows how much he knew about?
He still took it out, It's like,
yeah. But it doesn't mean
reality.
But then he hands it to the guy. They'll probably be like, "This isn't gonna work."
Well, no, but I'm just saying you couldn't even take it out like that. You can't pull a radio out of a.
Well, it was a couple of years ago, Charlie.
It was a few years ago. Trust me, unless this was taken in 1982. When honestly, trust me, I know you don't just pull video. You actually have to remove the console to remove the stereo.
I forget what kind of car it was. Was it? It was a couple years ago, but was it like an older car though, or?
No, actually, I don't think it was. But actually, more to the point is they're talking about like the sound system. But that's not the radio. The sound system is the woofers and the tweeters. So it's like everything about this, it's like, although maybe that's even kind of the gag on it, that he's stealing the thing that's not what actually needed to be stolen. What needed to be stolen was the car, not the radio.
Who's writing this? Old white man?
No, not necessarily. It may just be his own childlike understanding of it.
That's what I'm
that
saying.
he thinks they need to steal the radio, but he's actually saying, you need to steal the car. Which is maybe even more why he says, we got to take this back. Honestly, they should have just dropped it. That would have been the smart thing to do, but they decided to do the noble thing, and he goes back, and that leads to racist cop number 3.
The scar. He's evil because he has the scar.
He's got the scar, man. He's a redhead with a scar.
It's Lion King.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, although they all get what's coming to them. Well, actually, not really. It's a guy who's so. Anyway, we don't want to get too much into that just yet, but we'll get into that because there's more stuff that comes later.
Yes.
But yeah, so that comes into this whole quality of stealing the radio, and he doesn't steal the radio, and we get this because this show loves flashbacks. This is a very flashback centric show.
Oh, I mean, yeah, especially the first 2 episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everything is to the point where it gets a little disjointed as to what you're seeing. I'm reminded of this scene in Jessica Jones that me and Maz were talking about a few episodes back. Basically, I think it was like the 3rd episode, maybe the 4th, where basically there's this scene where Jessica and the Super go into a room, and then they cut to Griffin and Patsy having sex, and the way it's shot, you're meant to think that Jessica and the Super are having sex.
Yeah.
But then you realize, oh no, that's Patsy. Yeah, it's like it's in a lot of times you're like, wait, is this happening now? When is this happening?
Yeah, but was that like the nature kind of like part of the show too? Is like when it seemed like when they touched certain people, they could, I don't know if they were seeing into their minds or their heart, their hearts or whatever.
Yeah, well, they're seeing into what, and honestly, it works a lot better for Cloak than it does for Dagger. Because for Cloak, it's like these are your greatest fears. For Dagger, it's your greatest hopes. But
I think again, it's this girl who's like down on her luck, her life isn't going that well. She sees the hopeful stuff, and this kid, he's got like a good life now. He's seeing all like the dark, bad stuff. So
yeah, although I mean, I guess the if you want to go into that deeper. If you want to dig deeper into the racial subtext of the show, it's that, Cloak can never escape the darkness of his world. The reality is that white privilege means that Dagger will always have that hope. That no matter what happens to Dagger, she will always be white. And no matter what happens to Cloak, he will always be black.
I mean, that could be there, but I really didn't get the racial thing. I got more of like his whole family had like this dark cloud over them of like the brother's death and stuff.
Yeah,
and
but his brother was shot by a white cop.
Yeah, yeah. But
I mean, and when we see his mother's fear, that is essentially what it's saying. It's like, and as she said to him, my fear isn't that you're going to screw up and everything's going to bad. It's that you're going to do everything right,
and still
it's all going to go to heck.
And did it seem like they were hitting around that like there's something in that mother's past too, in his mother's past?
Well, she's certain. Well, I guess it's an interesting quality to it, because
I'm trying to remember what she said. It was something like, she has this job now, getting politicians elected and stuff. And it seemed like she said something like, yeah, before that, like she found a way to.
Well, there is this. Okay, and I'm going to reference it, and it was actually just on recently my favorite episode of the X-Files with the Monkey Boy, and in which Mulder is talking about Ahab and how Ahab has his Ahab's quest because he loses his hand, whereas Mulder always felt, if I had a hand, if I had that thing, if I had something taken away from me that was this burden to me, then just the act of living would be fine enough for me. I wouldn't need to have this Ahab's quest. Now, of course, in the story, his sister is actually taken away from him, so his argument kind of falls apart when you actually get too deep into the canon, but that's what nerds are for. But I think for the mother, it might be this thing where the loss of her eldest son becomes this wake-up call for her. That maybe she's phoning it in up into that moment. Maybe indulging too much or, thinking that just putting her kids in shoes and food makes her a good mom, when there may be all these other things she could be doing, living up to her potential. Maybe, and then when her son is lost, she realized she must stand taller than she ever has before.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, maybe she wasn't the best mother. She loses one of her sons and thinks, okay, I gotta, step it up.
Yeah. But for what it's worth, that that whole thing then becomes its own defense mechanism, because I lost my child, now I must be all the more the best mother ever, because maybe I'm at fault, maybe I'm the one that caused my son's, because I was not the best mother beforehand, but now I have to be the best mother for the next child. And of course the greatest fear then is that she's now doing everything right. Her son could still get shot by a cop, which he almost did, if not for magical cloak power.
I just wonder, like, she was, she's on the phone, she's talking about getting people elected and stuff. I'm wondering if, like, the people she's working for, or maybe the person she's working for has some kind of connection to Roxxon. You think they're going to go there?
They actually mentioned Roxxon when she's talking on the phone. She actually says that, and it sounded like her candidate is an opponent of Roxxon. So she is on the side of angels, at least not the side of demons. At least not the side of Hydra, because we all know from Agent Carter, Roxxon is affiliated with Hydra. Because you will remember the one person who survived from that original inner circle of Hydra was the head of Roxxon. He's like, fine by me. I'll take over everything. And, but this brings us back to Agent Carter. It would be nice to get that Whitney Frost forever. It's like this thing. It's like, do you want to feed the nerd or do you want to feed the story? Yeah. I'm not sure if feeding the nerd feeds the story, or if they're going to find a way to do both, which I actually think Marvel, being Marvel, will do both.
Yeah, I mean, these first 2 episodes, I get it too. I was impatient. I'm like, let's get to some Roxxon stuff, but it is the first 2 episodes. You want to build, I mean, this is a Marvel property. You want to build these characters up and give them like a fully formed backstory in the world. We can't be jumping into the whole Roxxon conspiracy yet, because you have to show us who these Cloak and Dagger are, especially for people who don't read comics and are like, who are Cloak and Dagger?
Yeah, if you didn't see Agent Carter, Roxxon means nothing to you. But what I'm going to tell you is we're going to get something else next episode that is going to possibly be even more important. Did you watch the teaser for next episode?
No, I didn't. This is one of my big problems. I set both episodes to record, and like I didn't get to watch like the last 20 minutes last night, so I watched it today. They must have ran over or something, because I lost like the last minute or so. Yeah.
Okay, so hey, big selling point for DirecTV now. Its DVR records the whole dang show. Like from start to finish, and gives you a couple minutes extra. Just for
my
fun.
Regular DirecTV usually always does record sometimes I even get the first minute or 2 of another show after it, but yeah, I don't know. The last thing I saw was Tandy talking to the boyfriend, but
yeah, it'll never happen. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the last thing I saw.
Oh, so you didn't actually see? You didn't see Cloak shooting the cop? Oh, okay. Spoilers ahead.
Okay.
Ready? Okay. Cloak. So basically, here's the thing. He has found the cop, because we've seen this as he goes through when he gets.
Well, yeah, through flashbacks, he tried to report it to the police, and then the captain or whatever was like, "There's no cop here who looks like that." And I guess it was like, what was it? The guy's
uncle. Yeah.
Yeah,
his uncle. Yeah, because his uncle fixed it. Yeah, but the thing is that we see, and this is the thing, is that both of them don't know how to use their powers yet. They could really use a Charles Xavier coming in.
No, they didn't even know they had powers until
until just now. Although we see that they've had these powers since the explosion, because Cloak originally saves Tandy. Tyrone originally saves Tandy, which she remembers.
They both go into the water. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the explosion happens, and she starts to glow. Cloak reaches to the glow, and the dark force reaches through the quantum realm to pull Tandy and him to safety, and then they both wind up on the shore, and they're both passed out. And what we see is Tyrone, when he thinks about something, it takes him to a place that he wants to go, even if he doesn't know where that place is. That's it's like Lockjaw. It's like it takes you to where you are supposed to be, not necessarily where you want to. And so for Tyrone, the first time he does it, he winds up on the top of the Roxxon building, which of course is telling there. But what happens when he walks down the stairs of the Roxxon building, he sees the cop he saw that he hasn't seen his whole life, but he sees the cop who shot his brother sees him, puts on the badge, he says his name, and suddenly he has all the information he needs. Next episode, it makes this point about how New Orleans, or this is the epicenter of voodoo, because we're going to be doing some voodoo stuff in this. Which immediately gets me thinking: are we gonna get a Jericho drum? Are we gonna get a man thing? Are we gonna get I'm forgetting her name, the woman with the magic powers that was associated with the man thing?
Oh, Jennifer Kale.
Yeah, we're gonna get a Jennifer Kale. We're gonna get a Jennifer Kale, a Jericho drum, or a man thing. And I don't think we're going to get a man thing. I think the man thing's off the table. But a Jennifer Kale or a Jericho drum.
Do you think they're going to include magic in this, or are we going to keep it like more science-based?
I think we'll have as much magic as we saw in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
But we didn't get that in season 1, though. I mean, think we're going to
but this is post Doctor Strange.
True.
This is post Doctor Strange. Essentially, magic has been established in this universe. We can now just start talking about magic. Even though we say it's science you don't understand, we can say, magic.
I mean, maybe. I mean, season 1, we go with the whole rocks on thing. We keep it science-based, and then maybe season 2, they're like, oh, we up the ante with magic.
No, I think, but like I said, I think, here's the thing. I think that everything comes in as it comes in. So both science and magic are on the table. Magic being a different way to access the same powers that science has accessed. It's the idea that there is not a differentiation between these two. These are all just different paths to the same location. The dark dimension or the light dimension. The zero matter or the one matter, because it's a binary connection, 0 and 1. That there has it's always bothered me that no one has ever looked into the light universe. That there's always all this stuff with the dark universe, the dark dimension, darkness. No one ever reaches out but there's obviously a light dimension. Where's her powers coming from? So her powers have to be coming from an equal and opposite universe. And basically what you're looking at, so big predictions, what her father was working on was a matter-antimatter reactor utilizing zero matter that creates that binary system of light and dark.
Or, I mean, it's rocks on, maybe they were trying to tap into both dimensions, as like an alternative, energy source.
Well, you're always trying to find other ways to get energy, because if you can, honestly, oil's great, but, it's really short-sighted. That's like my biggest problem with the War of the Realms. It's like, we'll get the oil out of the elven lands. It's like, would you like any of our magical fire stuff that, shoots laser beams out of nothingness? Do you want to use any of that energy? No, just give us the oil.
But,
give us the oil.
Even if they try to tap in this dark and light dimension, and if there's even if there are sentient beings there, Roxxon probably try to kill them. But it's like, hey, we don't got to pay anybody for this stuff. Let's just start pumping it out.
Well, yeah. Well, obviously that's what they're doing, and we got that earlier with Blackout, and because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was in season 2 of Blackout, I believe. Season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Blackout was in, which is a guy who had that Dark Force power. One of these guys who had Dark Force. So we've been dealing with the Dark Force energy. Obviously, that's something that was given to the TV universe. Says, yes, we have the Dark Force. Let's milk this cow for all it's worth. My idea is that there has to be an antimatter reactor within it, or they're using something with hyper pressures beneath the waters, beneath the earth. That's what they're going to use it. Maybe even throw in some gravitonium for good luck. I don't really think we're going to get to the super science qualities of it, maybe at least until episode 4 or 5.
They're just going to say it's unstable. They lost containment.
Yeah, well, exactly. They lost containment. And if you need to contain it, it's pretty much logical that probably you're going to lose the containment because it's probably more powerful than you've imagined. Basically, if you maintain containment, that's probably a real disappointment. It's like, that's not nearly as much energy as we thought would produce from this. But, live and learn. Getting back to the storyline, you have these divergent lives. Basically, you have an interesting serpentine pattern as it relates to the comic books. Because in the comic books, you have wealthy Tandy with distant parents and poor Tyrone, who I think also had distant parents.
Well, yeah, they were both. I know they were both runaways. Yeah,
they were both runaways, and they were both get caught up in the drug experiment that awakens that word that we cannot yet speak until the deal goes. That was never said. that condition that dare not speak its name. They run away. They develop their powers. Their latent mutant abilities are awakened by the drug that they're given. Which also, interesting enough, in a wonderful retcon, also awaken. Oh, what's his name? The Dark and Light guy in Chinatown, the mobster.
Oh, Mr. Negative?
Mr. Negative, that's the guy. Yes, Mr. Negative. But in the difference here is that you have each of them starting where they would have started in the original stories. Then the tragedy that creates them occurs, and then their lives take their different paths. Now, what's interesting, and this is actually my big prediction, Gary, who is introduced in episode 2 as the lawyer, Tandy's mom is Stuppen, is actually, for all his drug-addled nonsensicalness, is actually going to appear to be a great lawyer and is actually going to start opening up files for them.
Oh, maybe,
and that's when we're going to get to that super. He's going to be like, no, I said I'd do this because, her mom says he's noble. And not for nothing, there's a lot of noble guys who are what we in the business call Captain Save-A-Hose, who will reach out to that injured bird because they want to be a part of that world, to help them, just help them. But they actually are decent guys. I mean, they get a bad rep because there's all these nice guys that don't get laid who yell about it. There's a lot of nice guys who actually do get laid.
Now that you say that, that's probably how they're going to get access to those Roxxon files,
But you watch, Gary is going to be actually the unsung hero of this whole story because he's the lawyer who's going to open up books and get things done. That's my prediction. I could be wrong. I usually am. So don't get your hopes up, kids. But so we go into this story. Tandy, basically, we opened it up with Tandy doing this drug and steal scam on some guy, which would be a little more practical if this wasn't such a small town. New Orleans, as they say, it's a big city, but it's a small town. It's not like if you're going to go back to that club, that guy's not going to be there. I don't know how you maintain your reputation as a drug and steal artist if you go back to that club. Now, I guess, her security guard semi-boyfriend, and that's like the weirdest relationship in the whole thing. Although less weird is Cloak's relationship with the other black girl in his school.
Yeah. I mean,
which they do call out in that first episode where they say the other girls asked me to get you to come to the party, and it's like, why specifically you? And she's like sort of giggles it off because it's like, you know darn well why specifically me, you schmendrick. Doesn't mean I'm not a nice girl. Doesn't mean I don't think you're attractive. Doesn't mean you don't think I'm attractive. But let's not mince words. We all know what's going on here. We live in a world of stark and that's the thing. Like to me, Phil, that you didn't get the racial overtones of this.
No, I kind of did. I think it's just, I don't want to say I don't want to get it, but I try to be optimistic. But I get it. Yeah,
I mean, it's not to say that it's like, I think that it tries to give as nuanced as possible view of the racial dynamics of the world in which we live. And not for nothing, the white people do not come off shiny and happy.
No. But I mean, it could be worse. I mean, Tyrone could be the one living in the trailer with the deadbeat mom, and honestly, that was one of the things that I found most fascinating about this, because I have to really go back and rewatch this because I have to see why Tandy's mom didn't pick her up. Because there's this implication in that her mom had always been a drunk. That it wasn't the loss of her husband that made her become a drunk. It's just that it made it way worse.
Well, it made it so that it was no longer easy to cover up.
Or he wasn't there to like clean up after her anymore.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Or pick her.
Not for nothing. It's easy to be a drunken spouse if someone else cleans the house and someone else takes care of it.
Well, no, I'm even saying Tandy's mom wasn't there to pick her up because the husband wasn't there to pick her up anymore. The mother up anymore.
Yes, that's implied at the first start of the show, and that's interesting to go. Now, the other thing that I found really interesting about this is at the very end of the show, basically Tandy doesn't know if she killed this guy, and not for nothing. Big prediction, big spoiler. Just as a side thing, I've never seen Tandy's knives cut someone and draw blood before.
They're not like a physical thing, yeah.
Although that kind of makes me wonder. And this is just popping in my head right now, if that was Tandy's blood, not his blood.
Oh, yeah, because we really didn't see blood on him, right?
Well, I thought we did, but maybe it's all from her hand in some way. Like maybe the blood, although she has blood on her dress too, so I don't know.
Or maybe do you think it's a thing where like right now it's like a laser beam that can cut through stuff, but she has to like learn to like control it and like refine her powers maybe?
I mean, anything's possible. I'm not quite sure, but I know that when he comes to, he's going to confess to all his sins.
Oh yeah.
You know, because that's what happens when you get struck by the light knife, is you confess to all your... It's the lasso of truth. Yeah, I don't know if it's intentional, but that's an interesting sexual dynamic that the female has the dagger, which penetrates, and male has the cloak, which envelops. So, don't know if that was intentional. Don't know if anyone thought that through, or if they were just going with the racial dynamics when they wrote that up. But
yeah, maybe back in the day,
that actually... But, you know, that's what's great about comic books, is that as the story goes, you can actually... Oh, you know what? That would also mean this, and this, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like anytime you go back and get that old 60s canon and bring it back and say, well, you realize that if he said XYZ, that means ABC, subset 1, subset 2, subset 3. That the logic follows that this leads to that. And so that's what makes these things great. So I am really excited about episode 3. Next Thursday, 8 o'clock, is it? Or is it 9 o'clock?
Here, I keep talking. I will check my TV time app. Let's see. Episode 3, titled Stained Glass.
Mm-hmm.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Okay, so that's our 8 o'clock show. I'm going to do my best to be there at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Start tweeting.
It's like 8 o'clock every week. So
every Thursday? Yep, every Thursday. Of course. Anyway, I'm going to be there. Do my best to be there at 8 o'clock on Thursdays. Live tweeting this show. Fingers crossed, and we'll take it from there. And Phil, if people would like to reach out to you, find out about you, and actually, any final thoughts?
No. So I think the final thought is, I mean, it's a decent and it's a good show. You know, we're gonna be back. We're gonna keep checking it out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And mark my words, Jennifer Kale will be the voodoo priestess next episode. Mark my words. Words have been marked, and she may be African American.
Oh, yeah,
or Creole. Actually, she'll probably be Creole, because that's going to mess with fanboys' heads, because they won't know how to take it. And there's no, she's Creole. And Jennifer Kale was always Creole.
New Orleans, yeah. I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, she's going to be a Creole. She's going to be... No, but mark my words, Jennifer Kale is our voodoo priestess next episode, and we'll all find out that here next week on Superconnectivity. Phil, how can they find?
Write to me, especially if you... Are you an actor on the Cloak and Dagger show? Do an interview with us. NightwingPDP@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am at NightwingPDP. And you can always call the Capes and Lunatics voicemail, 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES.
And of course, you can write to me at an old-fashioned email way the way our Ma's and Pa's did back when Cloak and Dagger were little kids, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet this very show, Cloak and Dagger, at 8 o'clock on Thursdays now, whenever I can, at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle, and that's for the quality.
Hey, before we go anywhere, I have breaking news.
Yes.
I will have to confirm this later, but someone's telling me that, Indie PopCon is this weekend. It appears the Capes and Lunatics podcast has won the award for Comics Podcast. Yeah, baby.
Oh my goodness! Is any of us going to that to accept an award? Where does it occur?
It's right. It's happening right now. I know Rob Southgate is there, unless Rob Southgate accepts for it. I don't know if there's an actual award or what, but
get the award and say, yes, this was my idea from the very start.
I named this thing.
He is the Stan Lee of our empire, but that's okay. I like Stan Lee, so that's perfect. I'm fine with that. Okay.
So yeah, more details later, but
okay. And hey, all you folks, thank you for connecting with us tonight. Please super connect with us once again next week. Good night.
So, I mean, Jennifer Kale's one thing here. We're going to get like actual supervillains in this show.
Oh, Roxanne.
Well, yeah, but I mean, except for like guys in unless they play like a Justin Hammer role, and they like give guys like super weapons or something,
Well, yeah. I mean, all I'm wondering is, do Cloak and Dagger have a villain?
I don't know. We'll have to research this. I know.
Yeah, I think they mostly just like beat up mongers like Spider-Man used to, like Spider-Man's supposed to.